to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I am Blake Harrison, and joining me, as always, is Stuart or Fan.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm fine. I've had a lovely weekend. I didn't get to watch a huge amount of the fights. I did see the main event, which we're going to talk about, that happened over the weekend. This episode, just for anyone that wants to know, is going to be very news heavy. As always, last week we did an episode that was our post UFC 3, is it 15? 15 episode, the Bilal versus JDM episode.
We missed the boat, didn't we?
Oh, mate, yeah, that's what I was about to say, yeah. So we have talked about what we think's going to happen. Is Islam going to move up? Blah, blah, blah. And literally, after we finished recording, the stuff's been edited and it's about to go out. Dana announces everything that we were discussing on the show. So if last week you did listen to the show and you were like, well, they've just announced that, but boys, what are you talking about? That's why. This is what happens. If we can't get the episode out quickly enough, just news happens. And there was a lot of news. Islam versus JDM. Ilia taking on Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight belt now that Islam's moved up and he's had to vacate. Dricus Plessis against Khamzat Chimaev has been announced. Not to mention the rest of the 217 International Fight Week card.
Is that Pantoja Kai France on that card?
Yes. We're talking about that. So there's a lot. Plus a couple of other little random things to talk about. And, of course, this weekend, Michael Morales absolutely destroyed Gilbert Burns. And we're going to start with that. But before we do, we want to shout out Fat Candy because they sponsor us and we want to shout them out so that you can hopefully enjoy some of their freeze-dried sweetie goodies.
Can I put a request in? When you do your Fat Candy logo shout out or name shout out, for me, it feels a little bit like kind of Boys to Men. It's a little bit kind of like 90s R&B, the way you do that.
That's how I live my life, but yeah, carry on.
Thank you. Next time you do it, can you just put one hand on one headphone? Because I think that'd look really good. You're just laying down a sweet vocal.
Should we try that now? Should we try that now?
Yes, please. And shut your eyes. And shut your eyes.
If you could count me in, there's no snare on my headphones, guys.
Right. Okay, Blake, we're going to do a take now. Fat Candy, and 3, 2, 1.
Fat Candy. Yeah? Pretty good?
Yeah, that was great.
Awesome. All right, great. Well, go to fatcandy.com and you can get your freeze-dried sweetie goodies and we can give you a discount code SWEETMMA. So if you're listening to this in the car, on the school run, and the kids have just heard the word freeze-dried sweets, you've got no excuses. You now have to get them because we give you the discount code SWEETMMA. Get the Skittles. They're my favourites.
Glorious.
But yes, so I had a lovely weekend, but didn't get to watch much of the fights. My daughter did a little show in central London as part of this kind of Saturday drama group thing that she does. And on Sunday, they did a little show at the Phoenix Arts Club in London, and that was lovely, and she did brilliantly, but it meant that I was out most of the day not watching fights. I woke up early in the morning, quickly fast forwarded to Morales Burns. Thank you, Michael Morales, because I could have gotten in a bit of trouble if that was a 5-rounder, and he made sure I was out the door sharpish. So well done, Michael Morales. Under your glasses, you can't see it too well, but if you were to lift the glasses up for us, Whiffin, I don't know if people can see this on the YouTube, but for those just on podcast, Stu's got a black eye. Stu, what happened, mate?
3 geezers broke into my house on, nothing exciting whatsoever. I did actually train in Muay Thai on Friday and, left there completely injury-free. But for listeners of this show, long-term listeners probably are aware that I run a nightclub. I run that.
This sounds like it's about to get really juicy.
And work that on Friday night and Saturday night. And, and left there injury-free. Got up this morning, got in my car, and just looked in my rearview mirror, and I've got a shiner. And I have absolutely no idea how I got it. So I left the club this morning, popped over the road to the opticians, a high street opticians. I won't say which one. And I went, just off the top of your head, I woke up with that. Like, and it's not sore. It's not like a black eye. I mean, just stress and tiredness. Like,
Stress and tiredness has given you a black eye.
I've worried a black eye onto my own face. Like, it's insane. Like,
Stu whipping in one corner and stress and tiredness in the other. Oh, Stu's marked up already. The left eye's got a mouse under it.
it's insane. All the things that I've done over like the last 4 days, there is a multitude of ways that I could have got a black eye. No, absolutely fine. But yeah, get in my car in the morning. Oh, there it is. So yeah, no idea. But yeah, I'm feeling good, mate. So I did get to, when I got in from the club on Saturday morning, I'd realised I'd missed the UFC. It started earlier, and so I got to so I just thought I'm going to watch Gilbert Burns before I go to bed, because the Paul Craig fight got pulled at the last minute. So I was obviously interested in watching Paul's fight, but that got Paul through no fault of Paul Craig. So I thought I'll watch Gilbert. Oh my life! I mean, should we just get onto it now, because I mean that
I just
was
for some
devastating.
reason, you've just made me think of the fact that like my northern mates all take the mick out of southerners, because when we say the name Paul, like something being like Paul, you're pulling, like you pulled from the fight. Paul got pulled from the fight. Like we say it exactly the same, and the same as like a swimming pool. Whereas northerners would say like Paul, pull, and pool, or whatever it is. It's all very different. And I don't know, it just occurred to me that we say 3 different pools exactly the same way.
Right, so
I don't know what that. Right,
so
yeah,
last week you don't like Australians, and now you've turned on your own people. Literally, you're digging out Southerners now. What's wrong with you, mate?
No, but I have just noticed that I didn't realise that you were speaking and it was coming all through my external speakers on my laptop and not my headphones, and it took me this long to realise that. So good luck to Chris with the potential sound issues coming his way on my microphone. So yeah, but anyway,
Focus, Blake.
Yeah,
Morales.
Focus.
He was
Morales,
devastating, wasn't he?
Oh, golly gosh, he was unreal, wasn't he? It like Burns. I don't know how much stock to put in. Burns doesn't look like himself anymore. Like we said a similar thing, or I said a similar thing about Jessica Andrade recently.
How old is Gilbert Burns?
I reckon he's about 38, isn't he?
I'll
have to look that up to be 100% sure. But Morales is young. I'm going to look him up in a minute as well. But I reckon Morales is about 25 and Burns is about 38. So Burns is 38. He will be 39 in July, ladies and gentlemen. Happy birthday to Gilbert Burns. And Michael
seeing
Morales.
a passing of the baton here, aren't we? We're seeing somebody reaching the end of their career and somebody that is on fire.
Yeah. Michael Morales, by the way, 25. Will be 26 on June 24th, the day after me. There you go. Congratulations, Michael Morales. And if anyone wants to send me a birthday present on June 23rd, just let me know. Anyway, so, God, I am quite distracted. I'm like, you're quite tired and just want to get this over with and go to bed. And I'm like bouncing off the walls. I've had too many fat candies. Yeah. Michael Morales looked insane. You're talking about passing the baton. Welterweight, almost like, I mean, obviously it's not overnight, but in a quite condensed period of time, there's all sorts of passing of the batons going on. It's like you got Michael Morales coming through, Sean Brady, Ian Gary, Shavkat Rakhmonov, and you've got people like, I think this JDM, obviously now champ, only 28 years old or whatever he is. And then you've got like Leon Edwards, who's only like 31, 32, but it does feel like he's not going to be sniffing around a title shot for a long time. Bilal Muhammad, I don't think he'll be getting a title shot soon. He's only just lost the belt. And yet in my head, I feel like, oh, that's a guy to give to a surging prospect, which maybe is my bad, but that's just how it feels at welterweight at the moment. Is you've got all these guys that have had their moments, and it now looks like they're on that conveyor belt on the way out, and all these fresh, young, hungry, talented fighters are coming through. And it's very, very exciting to watch. I mean, Kamaru Usman hasn't got long. He's fighting Joaquin Buckley very, very soon. If Buckley wins that fight, that's another one of those prospects that we're talking about. Colby Covington surely on his way out. Jeff Neal and Wonderboy Thompson are getting on a bit. Vicente Luque's getting on. It's, you know, there's a lot. I think
Luque fighting. He's on 3. He's on the next numbered card, I think.
Is he? Okay. Who did you think he was fighting?
Oh, I can't think.
Or did you just think he was fighting soon?
He's definitely fighting. I think he's fighting on 316.
Well, I've got to hear it. He's fighting Kevin Holland, so it's not exactly like a new guy surging through, but he is fighting at 316. You are correct.
I think that performance at the weekend from Morales, the rest of that welterweight. I mean, he's top 10 now. I'm presuming he's taken Gilbert.
He'll be about 7 or 8, yeah.
Like, I think Gilbert was 9, so I'd be interested to see where that places Morales. But if you're in that division and you saw that demolition of Gilbert Burns, I think, you know, the welterweight's now thinking, okay, we've got our hands full with this fella.
Yeah. But what do you do with him, though? Because there's such a logjam at the top. Like, JDM's now fighting Makhachev. Makhachev's coming through now. So you got Makhachev now going up to welterweight. That's JDM versus him. That'll probably happen before the end of the year. Sean Brady and Ian Gary have got to fight for a number 1 contender fight, I think. But Shavkat is already the number 1 contender, but he's just injured and probably won't be able to fight till some point next year. Does he have to now go back a step? I mean, he's earned the title shot. Like, what do you do with him? If Joaquin Buckley beats Kamaru Usman, what's his reward? Like, there's just too many names, and then Michael Morales. So you just think, gosh, it's just crazy at welterweight right now. I don't know what is going to happen and how you're going to book him, but I almost think because of his age, maybe you're best to just give him, like, I don't know. If Vicente Luque beats the winner of Vicente Luque, Kevin Holland, do they fight Michael Morales? It's not a step up in terms of rankings for Michael Morales, but it's maybe a step up in competition. That feels harsh on Gilbert Burns, but Gilbert, I don't know if he did look like himself, and I don't know, man. I just don't know what you do with Michael Morales. Do you give him an MVP or a Wonderboy Thompson, or do you go, no, you fight a Bilal, you fight a Leon Edwards? I was saying a while ago that I thought they might do Morales Leon Edwards after he lost the belt to Bilal and then to Brady and stuff. So maybe Leon's in a really tough spot and he's looking at these huge killers coming through, and
you've got
changing of the guard.
Like, looking at that, like, you know, Leon's obviously, you know, had a tough couple of gigs, and whereas, you know, if you're looking at other potential opponents, I do think Ian Gary, Sean Brady makes sense as a fight while Shavkat's out. But Ian Gary has basically fought all the people that no one wants to fight, and he's put his hand up to fight them as well. And I think Morales is the next one that everybody's going to be thinking, oh, I don't know if I fancy that. And
they're not going to do Gary Morales.
No. But I think because I think Gary's going to get Sean Brady. Like, in a heartbeat, I think Gary will put his hand up and go, yeah, I'll fight him, because that's who Ian Gary is. But I think that is a great fight for Leon. I think that cements Leon as, like, look, I was a former champ, like, not that long ago. And before I even had that belt, look at the tear I was on. You know, people forget just how good I am. And I think this could be a good fight for him to just go.
You think Michael Morales is a good fight for Leon Edwards right now?
I think it's a good fight for Leon Edwards to kind of pull himself back into going, look, don't sleep on me. Like, I'm a problem.
I think it's a great fight for Michael Morales, because if he wins it, he's like a fight away from title shot or whatever he is. I think it's a terrible fight for Leon.
Well, who do you give Leon then?
I've been saying it a long time. He's meant to be coming back Free piece and a soda needs to be done.
No,
Yes.
no.
Yes.
We're not
Come
having
on.
this conversation. We're not having this
Leon
conversation.
Leon needs a win. Yeah, we're British MMA fans. I'm sorry that makes us biased, but we're British MMA fans. I want to see Leon get back to winning ways. Give him Masvidal in the O2. Free piece and a soda. Conclusion of that story. And once he deals with Masvidal and he gets a win back and he gets his confidence back and all these things, then we can give him someone like Morales or something.
They're not doing that. They're not doing that, mate.
If Michael Morales fights Leon Edwards, I think Michael Morales is the favourite going into that fight. I'm not saying that he'd necessarily be my favourite. I'm just saying.
I think so.
He might be. I think he would be like the betting favourite going into that fight.
Totally
and for
agree.
me, that is a terrible situation for Leon Edwards because he's not fighting a big name. He's not getting retribution for a loss or anything like that. He's fighting this young, hungry killer that most casual fans won't know. Most people filling out the O2 won't know who Michael Morales is. And if he got smashed by Michael Morales quickly, it's just game over for Leon, isn't it? Like, where does he go from there?
But then where does he go if he fights? I mean, the Masvidal fight, that's not going to happen. Like,
why not? It makes so much sense.
I mean, when's the UFC coming back to London?
I don't know. They could maybe do a July, but maybe it'll be more like March next year.
Right.
But they could do it anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the O2. It'd be great if it was, but it doesn't have to be.
But yeah, maybe they do it in Miami, and but I don't know. It doesn't. I understand why you're saying it, and I understand the whole beef and all of that, and it's probably the only fight that will get attention for Leon at the moment, because I think outside of the UK, and this may sound harsh on Leon, I don't think he's like a superstar. He's a pretty quiet
I still think
fella.
he's a big name.
He's a big name.
Yeah, but that head kick of Kamaru Usman, that moment, and the headshot dead, and then the fact that he defended the belt twice, I think. And the whole thing with like, I'm sorry, the name's escaping me of his head coach that was giving him the whole Rocky speech.
Yeah.
He's bullying your son. All of that stuff went sort of viral. And I think that has made him a star globally. I'm not saying he's up there with Conor and Ilia Topuria and Alex Pereira. I'm not saying that. But I think to upset some Australians again, he's a bigger star than Jack Della Maddalena.
Oh, fuck. God's sake, what is wrong with you?
People are going to think I hate Jack. I love Jack Della Maddalena. I was the one singing. Jack Della Maddalena.
You must really like it, because at the beginning of the year, did you pick him to be the champ this year?
No, but he only got the title shot because Shavkat was injured.
Did you guess correctly or incorrectly?
Well, he might not be the champ at the end of the year, mate. It might be Islam Makhachev. So.
Well, let's talk about that, because
let's talk about that.
That's an announcement. Again, another one of the big announcements that come about 15 minutes after we recorded last week's show.
It's so fucking annoying.
There was a proper, for fuck's sake,
Dana.
text coming from me to you, and it was like, oh, for fuck's sake. But yeah, I mean, also, we're all talking about for fuck's sakes. I mean, JDM must have just thought, oh, for fuck's sake. Like,
no, I think he loves it.
Do you think so?
Yeah, it's the biggest fight he could possibly get. And it's against a guy smaller than him. So he's going to have more advantages than he would. In my head, I think if you're Jack Della, I'm not saying he's the favourite in either of these fights, but I think Islam Makhachev or Shavkat Rakhmonov, both are really great fighters. Shavkat is naturally bigger, so I'd rather fight Islam than Shavkat for that reason. And Islam's a much bigger star than Shavkat, so I'd rather fight Islam for that reason. So this is great for Jack.
I think he would have watched Ian Gary Shavkat, and just like the way that he would have watched Bilal versus Leon, and just thought, right, I'm going to sort my game plan out. And yeah, I think Jack beats Shavkat, and I I'd be really interested because I think Islam walks around pretty big, doesn't he? And I think there's quite a substantial weight cut. The numbers I don't know. But I'd be interested when they face off just to have a little look at them to see the size difference. Because what we did see with JDM was really good takedown defense. And when he did get took down, like he didn't look, he didn't look in bother. And yes, obviously, Islam is a better wrestler than Belal. But I get the impression that the JDM's strong. And I think that's going to have a big thing in this fight with Islam. I'd love to see JDM like get that win and really sort of solidify, where he's at, because I think he's fantastic. And one of the things that I know we was going to talk about today was the fact that to get this fight, he's had to vacate his belt. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's tricky. I think it's a little bit harsh on Islam for him to have to vacate his belt. I think he really wanted the double champ status, and most of us will know, okay, technically you're not a double champ, but you also sort of are. So it's still there, but it's not the same as, there's the story of like Tyron Woodley having to like give his belt over to Conor McGregor at the end of, what was it, 305. When did he beat Eddie Alvarez, Madison Square Garden? I can't remember if that was 306, 305.
Yeah.
No, not 205.
Yeah.
It might be 205. So, and Conor knew that the image of those two belts over his shoulders would be iconic.
Yeah.
And would matter. And I think Islam wanted that moment, the two belts over his shoulders. And he isn't going to get that. And I can sort of understand from the UFC's perspective that they didn't want to give him that because they got to keep the divisions moving.
Yeah.
Because they need title fights to sell pay-per-views and all that kind of stuff. But I think if anyone's earned it, Islam Makhachev has earned it. Like, he is, by definition of kind of like, or by the metric of title defenses, he is the greatest lightweight champion of all time because he's had more title defenses than any other previous lightweight champion. And so I think that counts. I think also the way he's represented himself in terms of not letting the UFC down, taking the Renato Moicano fight on like a few hours notice or whatever it is, and like having that speech that Dana White kind of quotes all the time and says he was going to get written up in the Performance Institute, which he may actually have already done, and I'm paraphrasing, but like the champion is the best in the world, so it doesn't matter who's opposite you. You fight anyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And there are fighters out there that go, no, I'm not taking that fight on short notice and stuff like that. So yeah, I do feel a little bit for Islam Makhachev, if I'm perfectly honest, in that respect. But he has ultimately got what he wanted. He's got the fight for the welterweight title, and that is the main thing. I wanted to ask you, how disappointed are you that Ilia Topuria Islam Makhachev may never happen, or that certainly won't be happening in the immediate future? But are you disappointed that we did not see that fight?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. But I think in whatever division Ilia's in, there's still a bucket load of fights that are really fun. And I think, if he beats Oliveira, there's a very big chance that we get to see him fight Paddy. If Paddy gets another win. And, the story there is fun and exciting. I don't know. I think whoever Ilia fights is exciting. And do you think that that's... I mean, how do you feel about it before we move on?
I sort of, I'm massively disappointed, actually. I think those fights that you've just mentioned pale in comparison to Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, the pound for pound best fighter on the planet, the lightweight GOAT, defending his belt against this guy that just has such an unbelievable aura. A guy that is a star. He has wrecked through a lot of that featherweight division. I'm not going to say he's cleaned it out. He hasn't cleaned it out. There's Movsar Evloev and he didn't fight Diego Lopez. He hasn't cleaned it out. But what he did do was he ran through the competitors he had to, and then he beat two legitimate legends in devastating fashion when he knocked out Volkanovski and then knocked out Max Holloway, the first guy to ever knock out Max Holloway. Like, I want to see that guy fight the pound for pound best guy on the planet. That to me is not just such an intriguing and mesmerizing fight once they're in the cage, but the build up to it. Ilia is not scared of Islam. He is not worried about the whole kind of like Dagestani wrestling Khabib aura. Like, he doesn't give an F about any of that stuff. He's his own guy. He's I think the closest thing we've had to that kind of belief in a fighter since Conor McGregor, in terms of self-belief. Like, Conor went into fights going, I'm going to knock him out at this round. I'm going to do it. He did it. He spoke all this game and he just believed it. And Ilia Topuria feels like he's that guy that's just like changing his Instagram handle to UFC champion before he fought Volk. Stuff like that. You're just like, this guy is different. He's just different to all fighters. Have an element of being a little bit delusional and believe in themselves and believe they can fight anyone and all this kind of stuff. But I think there's the belief that you see from 99% of fighters, and then there's the kind of the belief that you see that's not. It's not even like, but it's knowing. It's like a knowledge that Ilia Topuria has of how he's going to do and what he's going to do to his opponent and the legacy he'll leave behind, the victories, all this stuff. And to me, to have seen that, this dominant champion who's the pound for pound best in the world taking on that guy, I think we've lost something there. I think the fights that have been made are great. Well done, UFC, some great fights. But that would have been special. And I think these fights are great. They're not special.
You said that, it's a fight that now may not ever happen. I mean, I don't know what Makhachev's ever said about retirement plans and, when he looks to sort of get out of the sport. But if he beats JDM, that opens up, Islam versus Shavkat. I mean, there's some fun fights up there, talking about strong wrestlers like Sean Brady, versus, Makhachev. That's when you're going to start to see size difference between the classes. But I also think what we will see is I do believe that Ilia will beat Oliveira, and I'd be interested to see what he does at that weight. I think a fight with Paddy, if Paddy does get a win, is a huge fight. But I think with all of the eyes being on Ilia Topuria, is arguably one of the most exciting fighters and well-rounded fighters in the UFC that, as you said, has just like, wrecked through the division. I think that the narrative will start of like, why don't Makhachev fight him? Why don't he, go back and get his title back? I think that, look, as seeing how excited you got about that fight, the UFC aren't stupid. They know that is a monster fight. And if they both get, wins in their, new divisions, it just adds more fuel to that fight. And that fight will happen, but maybe not. Maybe not just yet.
Maybe not. I mean, Topuria was a featherweight. He's now stepping up. Can he make welterweight? Does Islam Makhachev want to cut weight again and go back down to lightweight? I think if Islam Makhachev loses to Jack Della, he might go back down and try and reclaim the belt, and then we get the fight. But it's lost some of its luster. Is that the word? It's lost something because he's coming off a loss. It's not the same.
Park that up. park that up, because when the media starts that, you know, this lightweight king is coming back to get what's rightfully his, blah, 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 blah. Highlight reels of both the fighters. Like, it will be super exciting. And any loss is parked up and forgotten.
I disagree. It won't be the same. If you get Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev both on phenomenal win streaks, or if you get one of them coming off a loss, it's not the same.
And I mean, you know, you're saying about Willies don't want to go down, you know, I mean, I don't think Ilia will go up again.
I think he'd want to. I think he's that guy that would want to.
And I
whether he actually can, I don't know.
The bottom line, it just comes down to paying notes, doesn't it? And, you know, if the money's right, then I'm sure that will sway either fighter's decision, you know, to move around in weight. But yeah, I believe that fight will happen at some point.
Yeah. Well, look, we've got a lot to get through.
Okay.
So, Ilia versus Charles for the vacant lightweight belt. Is this the right choice? Did they pick the right opponent for Ilia to win? We always knew Ilia was going to get the shot. Charles Oliveira is only on a 1-fight win streak. That win against Michael Chandler. There were other options. Arman Sarukian. Obviously,
I mean, that guy's upset right now. He's got to be pissed.
He is, yeah. But I think I can understand the UFC being like, you pulled out on 3 hours notice or a day's notice, whatever it is, from your title shot opportunity. So you got to go and get a win before you can then have one. But technically the guy is on a 4-fight win streak. And if you want to be picky, which I do, his loss to Gamrot wasn't a loss, in my opinion. That was a win. So you could say Arman Sarukian, in my eyes, is on a 10-fight win streak. So he should be a guy getting the shot, really. He's got a win over Charles Oliveira. But I understand the UFC's position where they're like, no, you got to go back and earn it because you messed up last time, got injured, whatever it was. Gaethje is the other name out there. He was on a 1-fight win streak with the win over Fiziev. And then there's Paddy Pimblett, who was on a 7-fight win streak. A lot of people would say he's not been given the biggest challenges, but he is on a 7-fight win streak. He has history with Topuria. Was Charles Oliveira the right dance partner for Ilia Topuria, or should they have gone another way?
I can't help but think that Arman, you know, I don't know the real ins and outs of the conversations, obviously, that happened between him and the UFC when, you know, that the fight was pulled. But I do feel, from, you know, without knowing the details, on the sort of the fringes of it, looking in, it feels unfair when you're on that much of a tear and then they give it to Charles, who's lost. I mean, I love Oliveira and I'm happy that this fight is happening because I think he's one of the greats and one of the nicest people in the sport. But I do also think, I totally agree with what you said, Paddy, you know, has been looked like handled in the UFC so far, and I think that's great because he's relatively new to the, you know, to the organisation, and he's had a, you know, really interesting journey so far, and they know how much of a star he is. So I think, you know, for me, I do think that Paddy should have one more before a title shot. Gaethje, I think that's going to be who Paddy fights next. I think that's where that leaves that now, which I ain't mad at that either.
That would be a banger of a fight, wouldn't it? It'd be a great fight. Already, I've got a massive smile on my face just thinking about that fight happening.
If that fight happens, the only other thing is, what does Arman Sarukian do? Like, where is he left in this mix? Like, are
Dan
they
Hooker?
And like, yeah, not mad at that either.
I don't know. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Get the win back against Gamrot.
Yeah. But maybe, you know, if the UFC don't like him, maybe they will give him a hooker that if he loses, you know, he's way back down the rankings again, and he's, you know, he's not a title contention. And maybe they're just thinking, you know, we want an Oliveira, you know, or we want a Paddy Pimblett as champ. We want someone that's super marketable in Paddy, and obviously, you know, an absolute fan favourite in Oliveira. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tricky. I do think as a fight, in terms of just solely watching two individuals inside the octagon. Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria is a fantastic fight. I mean, it's going to be crazy. I think there's going to be a finish. I don't think it's going to a decision. And I think Oliveira is going to try and give as good as he gets. I do think Topuria will just have that dynamite in his hands and that could end it. But I mean, Oliveira's special, man. I know he's got losses as well, but I do think that he is a fantastic fighter. He had a phenomenal run at lightweight. He's one of the most exciting champions that we have had in a long time.
Win, lose or draw is exciting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's get got in a lot of times, especially in this lightweight run that he's had. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Charles Oliveira. I think that potentially in the octagon, it could be a more exciting fight or action fight than what Ilia versus Islam would be. But it just lacks all of the pomp and ceremony and what's at stake and the build-up and the aftermath and all that kind of stuff that Islam versus Ilia would have. But it's still a fantastic fight. It's a great, great fight. Quickly, going to put you on the spot. Ilia or Charles, who wins it?
Ilia.
I would say Ilia as well. But £10 difference, it might be a factor. Let's move on to another announcement that was made. Dricus
John Jones versus
Dricus Duplessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. I think we knew this was coming. This was what has been spoken about for a long time as the next fight to take place in the middleweight division. It's finally done. August 16th. Sorry, just something going on my stuff in Chicago. Weirdly, what is it? It was a UFC 319. I suppose the only worry whenever you've got a Khamzat fight or a highly anticipated Khamzat fight is, will he make it to the octagon? He's had a lot of injuries. He's had a lot of health issues. Do you see that as a potential problem, or are you confident that this is for the belt? He's going to make it. Interesting to point out as well, this fight's happening in America.
Yeah.
For a long time, Khamzat hadn't fought in America, and there was a lot of concerns about whether the UFC would want a champion that couldn't fight in America. Clearly, to me, this is an assumption. I don't have any proof, but I think that relationship between Dana White and Donald Trump has benefited both the UFC and Khamzat Chimaev. Do you think there's concerns about Khamzat and he's not the most reliable guy?
Oh, absolutely. I think anytime people talk about Khamzat, it's one of the first things they say, and I hope he stays healthy, and I hope that, weight's not going to be any issue, and I hope that, he turns up and brings his absolute A game, because when he does, he's fantastic to watch. And I do think he's got his hands full with Dricus. I think Dricus's fight style is so odd, messy, unorthodox, but effective. And I'd be interested to see how Shavkat deals with that. And,
Khamzat.
Khamzat, how he deals with that. And also to see what was the fight that Khamzat had that kind of humanised him and made him look quite...
Gilbert Burns.
It was Gilbert Burns, wasn't it? And
yeah. And then even the Kamaru Usman fight that he had up at middleweight.
Yeah.
Could easily have been scored a draw. He dominated Kamaru 10-8 in round one. And then I think you could give the next 2 rounds to Kamaru.
Yeah.
It was not a walkover by any stretch.
So yeah, I'll be interested to see how this goes. It's crazy to think a few years ago we were sort of, kind of not poking fun, but the fact that Dricus is now, a champ that has looked fantastic. Like I think this does make for a really exciting fight. I think the whole, fans of the UFC want to see Chimaev, get a chance of getting the belt. And I hope he stays healthy. I hope everything goes well and he does get that shot. And I hope it's a super exciting fight, because on paper it should be.
Well, one thing I wanted to mention is what Dricus du Plessis' resume will look like if he were to beat Khamzat Chimaev. And I'm ignoring kind of the Darren Tills and Derek Brunsons and Brad Tavares, but they are worth mentioning because they are decent names or stalwarts of that kind of like middleweight division or big names in the sport and stuff like that. So they're worthy opponents and they're good wins for Dricus. But when you look at names like Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland twice, Israel Adesanya, and then Khamzat Chimaev, I mean, I don't know that there would be a better kind of, what would that be? 5-name run of fights in anyone's resume. I'd be amazed to see 5 names in a row on anyone's resume that looks much better than Whittaker, Strickland, Izzy, Strickland, Khamzat. That is unbelievable, isn't it? That is a phenomenal run.
Yeah, but you have to understand as well, because I'd like to have a little look back at Anderson Silva's, but I think when you look at, Sean Strickland, again, like Dricus, it was like, really?
I knew you were going to say this.
Is this guy a world beater? And in this weird universe we live in, somehow he is. But yeah, I hope that time erases that a little bit and people will look at Izzy and go, yes, he was phenomenal. And hopefully people then just look back and think Strickland was just some kind of weird blip in the universe where, like...
I always remember... because I've been sat in the office now and the desk was in a slightly different place, and I remember us doing the post show for when when Strickland beat Israel Adesanya to become the champion, and we weren't sure whether there was like a glitch in the matrix, and like we were testing the walls just to see if they were real. We're like, something's gone wrong with the AI in our headsets.
Yeah,
this world isn't correct. It's just such a funny thing, but yeah, oh man, how mental. Right, what I want you to do now, a little test for you, and people can play along at home if they want to. I want you to rank these in order of your excitement for the fights. Ooh. So we've got Dricus v Khamzat, Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria, and Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena. Rank them in order of most excited or least most excited to least excited.
Most excited, I'm going to go Ilia and Charles.
Yep.
Then I'm going to go with JDM versus Islam, and I have a feeling that the Dricus fight versus Shavkat might be a little bit.
Khamzat, you keep saying Shavkat.
Oh my God, sorry. Yeah, I think that might just be Chimaev just mauling him, and it might just be a bit boring.
I am the complete opposite to you.
No way!
Yeah, the fight I'm most excited about is Dricus versus Khamzat.
Really?
Yes. Those two guys are just going to be like two bulls running at each other in the center of the cage. And either Khamzat is just going to smash him in one round, or Dricus is going to survive. And then he's just going to peer over at Khamzat, who looks a bit tired, and he's going to be like, I got you now, motherfucker. And he's just going to go for him. And he's just going to just maraud forward with crazy punches. And Khamzat's going to try and take him down, and he'll stuff him, and he'll just be crazy. That fight, I'm so excited for that fight. Dricus versus Khamzat is the one I'm most excited about. Then Islam versus JDM, because I just want to see how Islam deals with the size difference. Islam is the pound-for-pound best on the planet, but JDM is very, very good, as he proved against Bilal. He's young, but he's also 15 pounds heavier. And that will be interesting. Can Islam's skill set bridge the gap in the weight? And then after that, still very excited about it. Ilia versus Charles Oliveira will just be a great fight. But in my head, I just think, because Charles is, he lost to Arman, he then won against Michael Chandler. I don't put a huge amount of stock in that. Oh, that was a very good performance. Charles Oliveira to me is not the best lightweight around now that Islam has gone. The best lightweight around now that Islam has gone is Arman Sarukian or maybe Ilia Topuria. So that to me is what is so that's why I'm less excited about that fight. But I'm still excited about it.
We can't currently say that about Ilia because he's not proven yet, is he? And you know, I know that he's a big boy anyway, but I think and I agree. I think Sarukian he's that guy at the moment.
Yeah,
but I can't believe that's the fight that you're least excited about.
Yeah, I'm still very excited about it. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking forward to that fight. But DDP Khamzat, I can't wait for that. I want that tomorrow. I am super excited about that fight.
I mean, I just want to look. I'm going to talk about a couple of Australians now, right? So take a breath, all right?
Oh, here we go.
Don't start moaning, all right?
All right.
I mean, you might as well because I think we've now. I did check the stats. We've lost all of our Australian listeners, every single one of them.
All right, so I can tell you what I truly think of Australia now. Now that they're not listening.
So another couple of fights have been announced. Pantoja is going to be fighting Kai Kara France.
Who's a New Zealander.
He's a Kiwi, yes. All right. And Bobby Knuckles.
Talk about a few Australians and you start talking about a New Zealander. Whiffin.
Right.
Guys, you have to just give Whiffin, the benefit of the doubt. He's so tired, he's given himself a black eye. That's how tired Whiffin is. So you just got to give him some leeway this week.
That really sounds like the way that someone would talk about Grandad Simpson. Really
100%.
And obviously Bobby Knuckles has been who's he been given? Derrida, hasn't he?
Renier Derrida.
Yeah. Ooh,
that'd be an interesting fight. That'd be a good fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I want to ask about New Zealand's Kai Kara France. And is he the right person for this shot?
I think so. I'd have to just do a little bit of research while I'm talking to you. But
Manel Cap's in there, obviously. And
he is. Why didn't I like Manel Cap? Is it because some of his victories have been a bit weird? Like there was the his last one. I can't remember who Manel Cap beat in his last fight. If you don't mind looking that up while I look up the Kai Kara France stuff.
The one before that would have been Makhachev potentially,
and he lost that fight. Manel Cap lost against Makhachev. And then his most recent fight was it like Ulanbekov or someone like that, and he did a lot of like low blows or eye pokes, and that's what led to the finish. I think he was still going to win anyway, but it still wasn't great. And Kai Kara France is only on a 1-fight win streak, but it is a first round KO of Steve Erceg. And when you look at Kai Kara France's
sorry, just quickly, he beat after Makhachev, he beat Bruno Silva and Asu. And he's apparently on, according to Tapology, he's lined up to fight Brandon Royval.
Yeah, he is. So I think that's the right thing. I think Royval versus Cap, which is on that 317 card, phenomenal fight. Really looking forward to that one. Royval's great. Manel Cap's a very good fighter. Don't agree with a lot of what he says, but he's a very good fighter. And I want to see that. But I don't think he deserved the title shot. Whereas Kai Kara France, he was on a 3-fight win streak until he lost to Brandon Moreno for the interim belt. No shame in that. Then he has a split decision loss to Amir Albazi, which I thought he won. And most people thought Kai Kara France beat Amir Albazi that night. So I don't see that so much as a loss. And then he went out and first round KO'd Steve Erceg. And the problem is, Pantoja's beaten everyone in that division, really. I think even Kai Kara France, he has a win over, but it was in like maybe the Ultimate Fighter series or something like that. So Pantoja needs fresh opponents. And Kai Kara France sort of represents that. Pantoja beat Manel Cap a little while ago, and he's beaten Moreno and Royval multiple times. So I don't really know what else you do with him.
So do you think this puts more pressure on the UFC to review their stance on firing Makhachev, who since the UFC has gone to wherever, Brave or whatever it is, and has got wins under like, I mean, the guy left the UFC on a I don't know, I can't even recall what his win streak was, but it was impressive.
Maybe like a 6-fight win streak or something. It was good, yeah.
So young. Maybe his actions obviously didn't work too well with the organisation, but I mean, who's been following Makhachev's career outside of the UFC? Like, I mean, I think everybody will have a little look on on socials just to see if he won.
I think he won a karate combat fight recently as well.
That as well, didn't he? Yeah. But did you tune in and watch it? I didn't.
No.
But yeah, I think if he keeps getting them wins under his belt, I hope that the UFC do give him an opportunity, because I never thought Makhachev was the most exciting fighter, certainly towards the sort of the latter of his UFC career. But his record speaks for itself, and I'd like to see him just, I brought this up off of the back of what you said. Pantoja has cleared the division out. And so what is left?
When people talk about clearing out a division, I think Pantoja has cleared out a division. Topuria did not clear it out. Islam Makhachev did not clear it out. Like, there's lots of people that say, "Oh, he's cleared out the division." It's like, no, Pantoja. I'm just going to have
the big names.
Pantoja's cleared out the division.
And the big names in that division, where it's like, oh, I'd like to see him fight him again. Oh no, he's already fought him a few times. And it's like, I don't know what else there is in the division other than Kai. And I think that, this gives us a fun fight, and a big fan of both fights, to be honest. So yeah, not mad at any of that.
Yep. Not mad at that at all. I think that'll be a great fight. Royval Cat would be a great fight. Pantoja KKF will be a fun fight. The other fight on that card for International Fight Week is Benil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. That will be a great fight as well. So loads of fun fights, a lot to look forward to for that. You've mentioned Derrida versus Rob Whittaker. I just did something the other day, which I wanted to just bring up. It's just looking at the schedule coming up in the UFC over the next few months, like the kind of summer schedule. This weekend, is it this weekend, or we got a week off? I think we might have a week. I think we got a week off. It's like June 1st. Blanchfield Barber, that's a decent fight. Then the week after that, Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili for the bantamweight belt. Juliana Pena is taking on Kayla Harrison also on that card. That's fantastic. Week after that, Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley. Rose Namajunas is also on that card. The week after that, Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree. Oh my God, that is a phenomenal fight. Rafael Fiziev versus Ignacio Bahamondes on that card as well, which will be an absolute banger. Then the week after that, Topuria versus Oliveira, Kai Kara France versus Alejandro Pantoja, and the other fights that we've mentioned. My thing's gone a bit weird. And then the next thing that is properly lined up, there probably will be other fights to look forward to. But the next thing that is on the UFC's page is nearly a month later in July, Holloway Poirier 3 for the BMF title. Then you've got the Whittaker Derrida fight. And then a couple of weeks after that is Duplessis versus Khamzat Chimaev.
When's Aspinall Jones? Is that on there?
That is yet to be announced.
Oh,
sure, it's any day now. Any day now. If they make that fight, I think it'll be November in Madison Square Garden. But I mean, will it happen? Will it happen? Yeah. Anyway, the only other piece of news to talk about, I believe, is Patchy Mix. Bellator and I guess PFL bantamweight champion Patchy Mix has been released from his PFL contract. He's one of a long line, I think, of very unhappy fighters that were Bellator. And then when Bellator merged with the PFL, or when PFL bought Bellator, they were part of the contracts that were acquired by PFL. And a lot of fighters have been very unhappy with the way they've been treated and the way that, you know, they haven't had fights lined up for them and all that kind of stuff. Patchy Mix is just the latest of those fighters that has said, I've had enough. He's worked out a deal with PFL where he can just be released, and immediately he's picked up by the UFC, and he will be fighting in about 2 or 3 weeks' time at UFC 316 in the Marav Dvalishvili, Sean O'Malley on that card. And he's taking on Mario Bautista because Marlon Vera is out injured. So he's coming in short notice, and he's taking on Mario Bautista.
I was only saying that Cheeto Bautista was such a great fight last weekend.
Yeah, so that's now no longer happening. But I think, you know, this is a good thing for Patchy Mix. If he can come in short notice, do a job for the UFC, take out Mario Bautista, whose last win, I think, was maybe the Aldo fight, where a lot of people were annoyed at him. He was pushing him up against the fence a lot. Yeah, either go straight into the top 10 with a win. And, you know, someone like Patchy Mix, when Marav Dvalishvili has smashed through a lot of that division outside of maybe Corey Sandhagen, they need opponents in bantamweight if Marav stays the champ. So Patchy Mix with a win here, maybe one more afterwards as well. I'd just shove him straight into a title shot if Marab's still the champ. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
Good stuff for Patchy Mix. If he gets a win, I think that is some fresh blood in that division, and someone with a bit of I wouldn't necessarily say fan favorite, but for the hardcore fans that have been watching multiple organizations and we're watching Bellator and stuff like that, Patchy Mix is thought of very highly. So that'll be a very interesting contest down the line if Patchy Mix puts together a couple of good wins.
Also, shout out Shamrock, who got a win in Octagon at the weekend. We've been having some back and forth with him. He's planning on coming on the show soon, so I look forward to making that happen. And
back and forth with him makes it sound like we've been having like arguments with him or something.
Yeah, come on our fucking show. I don't want to come on your fucking show. No.
Imagine if that's the interactions you normally have. Come on our fucking show. Yeah, I don't want to come on a fucking show.
We're the most... I think people realise that we're not the two most alpha guys. I don't think we'd ever go into Liverpool and start throwing our weight around like that. This is the guy to give himself a black eye in his sleep. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be fearful of me at Next Gen. But look, obviously, we've been really lucky to have so many of the Next Gen lot.
Stu Whiffin's on a 2-fight losing streak to stress and tiredness.
So yeah, looking forward to getting Shamrock on. I mean, do we entertain the Darren Till and Darren the Dentist Stewart boxing match at the weekend?
No, I've got like all respect to Darren, both Darrens. I you know, I'm not a huge boxing fan, so the only time I'm even remotely interested in a boxing fight is when it's the best in the world versus the best in the world. And that's obviously not what that is, but I am very happy to see fighters that are no longer in MMA or at the top of their game still earning paychecks, because it's a tough life out there for professional fighters, especially those that never become champions or fight for belts, because, you know, they are lower down in the pecking order and they don't receive those kind of life-changing wages all the time. So to see people like Darren Stewart and Darren Till earning a paycheck and doing well outside of the UFC and MMA is only a lovely thing to see.
Absolutely. And I would urge people to just go and have a little read or listen to the interview with Darren Stewart afterwards, talking about having to sort of try and hold down a job and train once a week rather than 5 times a week when he was, you know, fighting at high level. It's quite a heartbreaking listen. But yeah, the harsh realities of, you know, a lot of fighters that are fighting not at the highest level.
Absolutely.
Finished on a really miserable note there, aren't we?
Yeah, well done, Whiffin. Bring the mood down, baby. Right. Guys, thank you very much for listening. Please check out any of the kind of interviews we've done in the back catalogue. We haven't done an interview for a while, but they are there. Check those out. Please give us a little positive review and a 5 stars or whatever it is on Spotify or iTunes if you listen that way. And subscribe on YouTube if you haven't done that already and you want to see our ugly mugs talking at you.
Give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok because that's where we are most active.
We done?
We done.
Bye.
See ya.
Put some ice on that eye.
I'm gonna really hurts.